The universe operates as a unified macrocosmic field. Within that infinite architecture, the human form acts as a highly specific focal point. We are isolated nodes, microcosms of consciousness, navigating a reality built on a massive scale. This mismatch in bandwidth creates the central problem of human existence. This diagram shows the human body as a bridge, a mesoscale interface positioned between the scattered data of the individual soul and the unified cosmos. Processing this total bandwidth requires a precise neurochemical calibration, a biological tune-up rewiring the hardware. The classical philosopher Mulla Sadra codified this state centuries ago. In his writing, he describes a concept called Khalq-e-Akar, the other creation. While often misread as a stage of fetal development, the text details the final, waking calibration of the fully formed adult nervous system. We can map this esoteric inner Eden by tracing the exact mechanical, chemical, and thermodynamic sequences occurring inside the brain. By treating the human body strictly as an electrochemical reactor, the mystical ambiguity disappears. Reaching this state bridges ancient theological promises with quantifiable biological engineering, establishing a high-bandwidth connection to the macrocosm. Look at this vintage anatomical plate. Ancient texts describe 4 rivers of paradise, direct metaphors for the neuroendocrine architecture of the human brain. Tracing the path from the cranial vault down the spinal column reveals the first current, the river of water. Biologically, this is cerebrospinal fluid. Produced deep in the brain's ventricles and the claustrum, it serves as the conductive base medium for the entire nervous system. The second river, represented as milk, originates at the brain's magnetic pole, the pituitary gland. It secretes serotonin and oxytocin. Flooding the system, these compounds generate absolute biological safety, shutting off circuits responsible for fear and grief. The third river, described as clarified honey, is produced by the electric active pole, the pineal gland. Here, the pineal synthesizes dopamine and melatonin, the chemical drivers for motivation, intense focus, and high-level spatial perception. These glandular secretions do not operate in isolation. They flow into and synthesize within the cerebrospinal fluid. When these flows balance, the human system physically exits its default survival mode. The biological reactor is now primed for its final catalyst. These neuroendocrine fluids do not circulate passively. They require active kinetic mechanical energy to move against gravity. The mechanism is a sacral cranial pump, driven by diaphragmatic breathing. As the diaphragm contracts downward, it alters internal pressure against the sacrum. This creates a hydraulic pressure wave, forcing fluid up the 33 vertebrae and back into the cranial vault. This mechanical pumping must be synchronized with the body's primary electromagnetic oscillator, the heart. This split screen shows how rhythmic breathing actively alters the heart's electromagnetic output, shifting the body from erratic biological stress into a state of precise heart-brain coherence. This cohesive waveform aligns with classical descriptions of silencing inner noise to achieve the tranquil soul, or nafs mutma'ina, recorded in poetic manuscripts for centuries. The coherent waveform effectively shuts down the survival-driven sympathetic nervous system. Mastering this mechanical pump and heart coherence is the strict physical prerequisite for ignition. Without it, the brain remains trapped in high-entropy survival noise. The ultimate trigger in this reactor occurs when highly pressurized cerebrospinal fluid strikes the pineal gland. Specific physical techniques, like sustained breath holds or resonant vocal vibrations, are engineered to create this precise cranial pressure. Zooming into the microstructure of the pineal gland reveals the presence of microscopic calcite crystals embedded within the tissue. This is the piezoelectric effect in action. Mechanical pressure applied to these crystals generates a literal electromagnetic charge. This localized electrical spark alters the gland's chemistry, synthesizing the fourth and final river, wine. Chemically, this wine is endogenous DMT, a luminescent compound released directly into the brain. We can map this exact biological event to the esoteric architecture of the Holy Grail. The third ventricle of the brain is the literal physical cup receiving this biological elixir. This piezoelectric ignition shatters the cognitive boundaries of time and space. The hardware upgrade is complete, preparing the system for cosmic integration. To understand what happens next, we have to look past biology and examine the thermodynamics of consciousness, as modeled by information theorists like Thomas Campbell. The psychological state of dualism, the illusion of a separate ego, functions physically as a state of high information friction and entropy. Defending this illusion of separation forces the brain to constantly calculate threats, burning massive amounts of biological energy. When the brain is bathed in endogenous DMT, the boundary illusion collapses, triggering a severe thermodynamic shift. The system's entropy drops. Love functions as the physical law of negentropy in a low-entropy information system, a state of total systemic coherence and the absolute absence of internal resistance. This shift represents a specific thermodynamic alignment, where the nervous system ceases its resistance and functions as a transparent conduit for the wider cosmic field. In physics, a system with near-zero entropy behaves as a superconductor. The final energetic output occurs when the human heart's electromagnetic field reorganizes itself into a flawless geometric structure, achieving perfect coherence. In this superconducting state, the human field perfectly synchronizes with the larger macrocosmic field. This returns us to Mulla Sadra's Khalq-e-Akhir. It is a state of creation achieved right now, not a destination deferred until after physical death. The human avatar shifts from being a passive, fearful observer into an active, integrated node within the cosmic network. Achieving this level of chemical and thermodynamic coherence aligns the human system with its designed potential, shifting the observer into total synchronization with the source field.